Show! What's the Gundam Explain Show? The Gundam Explain Show! Killed in a jar. The Gundam Explain Show. The Gundam Explain Show. The Gundam Explain Show. The Gundam Explain Show. What's the Gundam Explain Show? The Gundam Explain Show.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Gundam Explain Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue. And joining me as always, Steven of Midnight Hatter. Cheers.
Cheers. How you doing, buddy?
What is it? Cranberry juice?
Yeah, we'll call it I don't know. I can't even come up with a good joke off the top of my head.
No, you got to get a few sips in. I'm just assuming it's alcohol.
Yeah, you know, a little barrel juice. We'll call it that.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, cool. Yeah, it's a good way to get this started because it is Thursday. It is near the end of the week, and I'm usually like out of it, by the end of the week, and because work, kids stuff, and then I get, into the hobby stuff I can as I go. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But
Nice.
how are you doing? Show yesterday was pretty cool. If people missed that,
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love getting to show off things that other people have done that are impressive because it
yes,
gives me a break and like, but no, it's
That's
honestly inspiring to see what the immediate community around us is capable of doing, whether it's music, whether it's Gunpla, fantastic stuff. So thank you
I know.
guys. Thank you to the Patreon supporters for continuing to support the channel and for providing, some
Content.
eye candy for us, or ear
Yeah.
candy as it were.
Yeah, no, so check that out. If you hadn't yet, Steven's show from yesterday was really cool stuff from the community. But yeah, so for today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about some GQuuuuuuX news, which is pretty cool. Just box office overall. Like I found a review of someone that's never really watched Gundam before, and so I kind of wanted to see their thoughts because we were talking about that yesterday a little bit.
Yeah, that's
and-
awesome. So hopefully, fingers crossed, there's a showtime tomorrow at 1:23 in the afternoon. We will see
Ooh.
if I can take the wife to it because I've been trying to convince her all day, like, hey, if you see it, you have not watched Gundam, so I can get your perspective. But if you've already got one, then that's
No,
even better. We can get
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. And in fact, I think Sunday, and I think we nailed down a time. The supporters that have seen, or maybe not, doesn't matter. But yeah, supporters that want to, we're going to do a little G watch. So Monday's show or Monday's episode will be kind of a discussion around GQuuuuuX of us that have seen it. So we'll get into spoilers and all that.
Sweet.
So hey, if you're available for that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then, yeah, we'll talk some. Oh, yeah. The other news, too, what we'll get into is that it's in April. It's going to be on streaming here in the US. That news, I think it's been out for a little while today. I don't know when I was just scrolling before. Sometimes scrolling works. And I feel like it's the time when you really legitimately have nothing to do. Like, I sent you the thing to join the thing, and I was like, okay, so we're set up. I'll just scroll my phone for a second. And then that's when I saw the
There it
news.
is.
But I usually don't like to just scroll. But
Well, and there are certain things that I have alerts set up for. So, like for instance, with the Bandai Card Games Fest and the Next Future event that happened a couple weekends ago, I do have alerts on my phone for specific Twitter accounts. I don't, everyone that I follow on Twitter, I don't put like notifications on for everything, but I do have notifications for Gundam Assemble because I want to be on the cutting edge of anything
yeah,
Gundam Assemble that is announced. So.
I know. I'm so glad that you're really into it. Because it could be one of those things, there's some Gundam stuff I get into, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah. Like anything that's like seed related, you're like, yeah, nice,
So,
Adam.
yeah, so every time you come and say like, "Oh man, did you hear there's a new F90 kit?" And I'm like, "I don't care."
Exactly. It's one of those things.
So
But
that's how you are. Are you saying that you feel that way about the things that I like?
no. Change of subject. No, but that's the thing with Gundam Assemble. It's like I think that's awesome. I can't wait. But I need someone that knows a little more about that stuff to help guide me. And that's what you will be helping us with when that stuff comes out. I'm going to be turning to you for sure.
I'll do my best.
But I guess, I mean, speaking of that, did I hear correctly that it's not going to come out until 2026?
That's the word. Interestingly enough, the Japanese version of the website is updated, but the English version is not. So, like, if you click the little EN tab, it doesn't have anything about 2026. But sure enough, on the Japanese version, it says coming 2026.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we could wait. We wait for stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then was there something oh, yeah, we're gonna talk I found on Twitter this awesome technique for Gunpla, for customizing Gunpla,
Oh,
and it
very cool.
has multiple meanings. We'll get to that. But yeah, okay, to start, just some things we got into this week. Obviously I have the video up where I built, completed the GQuuuuuX, thanks to Art Rovo Gundam, link below. I was able to acquire some, and he had some for sale. I think they sold out, but there should be more stuff up there. It was funny. After I did the review and put it up, I didn't look at it again until just now to get it I appreciate my top coat. I don't think I did originally. Looking at it, I'm like, it's not that strong. This is such a skinny and non-mechanical looking thing that it is kind of different in general to look at. Yeah, so check out my review if you haven't. That's up on the channel. At the end of the day, if you like Gunpla, you're gonna like it. Even if and here's the other thing, like I feel like, and I've said this in the review, like it's cool to build even out of context of Gundam. Like to me, it's just a neat robot thingy.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, you made it look good with your touch ups because
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I
There was
mean,
a lot.
that's one of those kits, and I hope that this is trending this direction for high grades in the future because it's like the Requiem for Vengeance kits and the GQuuuuuX kits. They are highly detailed, lots of parts separation, and so it's like obviously there's plenty of detail on it without touching it up. But if you do go that extra mile, you can make these things look like really detailed.
Yeah, and there's something about it too of finding all the little parts that I have to detail and then go through and do it and not know. And there's actually some things, basically, and this is a big one, the thrusters on the back, there's a little line in there. It's supposed to be yellow. And I can actually hit that up easily. I just, when I was doing it, didn't, come across that. And then I hated the part that's on the back thrust, or the backpack, the white area that I had to paint white. That was annoying to paint. It reminded me of, what is it? The Atlas Gundam that has I forget that thing that it's called, that the ski
Oh yeah.
mechanism, the gun thing. I forget what it's called. It's sled. But if I remember correctly, that had a lot of color correcting stickers on it or something, and it was like, it looked horrible, and it's like you
Yeah,
have
it
to
was a
paint it,
ton
and
of
then
those yellow stickers.
yeah, and then painting with yellow, I forget, it's like light colors. It's harder to do unless you were to take your time to like mask all that stuff. But masking, sometimes to do it, sometimes. Um, okay. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there was that. Oh yeah, I had that video go up about the science in Gundam, and we're talking about like Minovsky particles and stuff like
I
that.
love that video personally because
Cool.
it yeah, anything like that. I remember when I first learned there was that little, I think it was like on History Channel or A&E or something, when they did the science in Star Wars, and it was like, could a TIE fighter exist? Like twin ion
Oh,
engine. Like, yes, in theory it could exist, but like the propulsion is so inefficient that it would be moving like a meter every second. Like, it's not, you're not going to
yeah,
be traveling fast. So it's like, and Gundam is the same way, where a lot of these pseudoscientific principles that can be explained in real life are just taken to their natural conclusion,
yeah,
or
yeah.
logical conclusion, I should say.
And you know what? There was so many other things too I wanted to touch on in the video to like kind of make it make sense. Like there was that time when I was talking about, one way to think about leveraging quantum mechanics is if you filled your gas tank of your car,
Mhm.
but then if you were able to somehow bend the laws of physics to fill the gas tank up again, to have, double the energy essentially in the same space. And part of how that can happen is the fact that there's three like generations of particles that exist, like or yeah, it's something like that, where the stuff that makes up some matter, like, solid matter, and then some stuff that makes up what we get from like light, photons, so it can kind of go through. And then you get a type of particle, and I forget the name of it. There's the boson hadron and something else. Anyway, that it could go through anything. And so
So
all
it's
you have
not a
to do,
collider. It is a
well, it's funny because I think that's what they're doing. They're because they call it a collider, because these particles have different properties of how they interact with each other, right?
Interesting.
So you can change the phase of a certain particle to be able to then be in the same space as another.
It's
And
fascinating.
yeah, and so I didn't touch on that in the video, but that is part of when you're trying to explain in quantum mechanics how can something exist in the same space, that it has to do with like, yeah, the particle generations. But
Hmm.
oh, I love talking that stuff, and I could do it forever. But
Dude, that's
um,
why I told you have to watch that movie Southland Tales,
oh
because
yes,
yeah,
yes. Let me mark that down real quick because
yeah, man.
I remember you had told me, and I forgot when I was thinking of something to watch. Okay.
Yeah, Southland Tales, and then, my wife and I have been watching that show Paradise, or we just finished it on
Oh yeah,
Hulu.
that's right. I've been hearing about that.
Good stuff, man.
Okay. All right. No, not Paradise Hills. Why would it do that? I don't know what that is. Okay. Oh yeah, let me think. Oh yeah, the other thing. And I brought this up on your show, right? I didn't bring it up here yet. The Eva unit here.
Yeah,
So,
did you bring that up on my show?
or
I don't
maybe I
hmm,
didn't. I would
no,
no, maybe that was
news
on
to
my Pro
me.
Gamer show. But check this out. This is
It's an action figure in a box.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's like a model kit, but nothing's on the runners.
it's pretty
I mean,
cool.
that's pretty cool. So this the brand YOLO Park, uh, $38 on Amazon. So it's one of those Chinese manufacturers that it's legit licensed stuff. Um, there's really high end EVA Unit ones out there that are like in the hundreds of dollars, and that will be down the line. But I start slow, get one of these. Now that I have that
Okay.
appreciation for Eva and all that. And I just think it's crazy. Coincidentally, this I had started watching the show before the series was announced.
Well, and I owe it to you and Ultronymous to finally watch Eva and
That's right, man.
properly pass judgment.
Oh, dude, that's right. I hope you get to that soon because I would love for us to talk about that more. And yeah, make some content around the discussions of themes and stuff that's in Eva because I feel like I feel like I've been using the term postmodern a lot lately, but it's like a postmodern Gundam and Godzilla, you know. Yeah, okay. So another interesting thing, kind of as it relates to like Gunpla, maybe collectibles. So here's this Mafex Spider-Man action figure, right? But what's really neat is that there's people out there that make head sculpts. And so I was able to get this Spider-Man 95 animated series head sculpt. Kind of hard to see on here, but I'll get to that point. And then a Spider-Man PS5 head sculpt. And yeah, it should
Okay.
auto do it. Anyway, it's fascinating because these things are extremely high quality. I would say higher quality than what like Marvel Legends does. And it got me thinking,
How's the color matching on it? Like,
you can tell if you look really closely that it's not exact,
because
but
red is a very hard color to like match.
yeah. For instance, and here's the thing though, when you order the head sculpts, you're choosing which body because they know people are swapping like the Marvel Legends or the Mafex. So
That's
maybe that's where
cool.
that color correction comes in because this one's a little different, but barely. But it really got me thinking. And maybe I'm missing this, but I don't see that done with Gundam heads. You know?
Unfortunately, no. And I wish that were the case because obviously we discussed this last night, but I wish that there was an alternative head for the Gundam EX that is a little closer to an Easy 8 instead of, the kind of weird 1930s football helmet thing that the
Slander.
Gundam EX has going on.
No, but so that's what's interesting because people are always customizing Gunpla so much, Gundam, whatever. I feel like the head could be a piece where people are making like custom heads, and maybe that does exist. I
Sure.
just haven't found it. But just nowadays, because and I don't know if it's the case that these are just completely printed in a resin printer. It's completely smooth. The lines for the webbing are grooves. The
Nice.
eye, the black part around the eye is raised, and the white part must be another
Kind
piece,
of
and it's
sunken in.
slightly transparent.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, on this one, not on the PS5 one, but it's that's what I'm saying. It's super high quality, and it's like I feel like I could see that with a I don't know. Let me grab. I have the double X here, and the double X head looks fine. But what if it's like you could get something where someone makes it where it's like gold, maybe a little larger, maybe it's adjusted just enough so that the head can have better articulation. Like I feel like that's a market,
Oh yeah.
but
100%. Like not even just like heads, but all different kinds of body parts. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there are plenty of high quality resin conversion kits. You can go to e2046.com and they specialize in just
oh
resin
yeah,
conversion kits. And even like the stuff that I've done and I'm going to show this off obviously is I've got the entry grade GM parts here. The torso fell off because and this is where I think it gets challenging is parts fitting. So like a two-part like epoxy resin that you did in silicone is probably going to be a little bit more rigid. It's going to hold up to a little bit more of the handling than a 3D printed resin. So like this stuff, it's great.
mhm,
It looks fantastic, but unfortunately, when it comes to movable joints, ball joints in particular, you're gonna run into like either it's gonna get real powdery because it's grinding against itself, or it just won't fit, and sometimes parts will crack. I mean, this was the fourth prototype that I had to print of this guy with almost the same settings. Like I maybe widened a couple of different peg holes just to allow a little bit of extra clearance, but like it really was a easy and quick design to do. So that said, one of the things that I am experimenting with are other types of resin that will hopefully allow us to get into the market that you're talking about, where we have some
Okay.
aftermarket parts. One in particular that I'm very excited about working on is an alternative head for the Zeta Gundam Verka.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but like the head sculpt on the Verka version of the Zeta Gundam, it's just like a little too narrow. It's like kind of,
That's that thing where there's something about a fat Zeta that,
yeah.
not that it has to be fat, but there's something about the chunkiness of.
Fat bottom Zetas make the world go round.
Well, okay, so if you were to make an alternate head, would it make more sense for it to just be a fully 3D printed piece?
I mean, I would probably at least part separate it enough to where, the faceplate and like the eyes and the cameras were individual parts.
Okay.
That way you could get some, I'm gonna put LEDs in it, so it's like I want to be able to
Okay,
print
yeah.
the eyes and the cameras in colored translucent resin. So
Yeah, that makes sense because I was just thinking, the reason maybe we are not seeing a lot of like these pre-painted custom whatever, because a lot of it is resin that's already on the side of hobbyist
mhm.
when it comes to craft rather than action figure. It's more of just, getting it because it's crazy. I have this this Marvel Legends, the Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine, and on AliExpress someone sells the bare arms.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Marvel Legends is that, but it's $17 and you get and they're pinless. They're the same articulation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting now, like how when you want to customize something and you don't, and there's options. Obviously, you could do something yourself, but who has the logistics or quickly ramp up to be able to create plastic pinless bare arms? It's nice that you
There's
can buy it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that, and we talk about it a lot over on my channel, where it's like there are things that you can do to customize your Gunpla, or like even tools. It's like you could spend days and hundreds of dollars finding an inexpensive tool that does the same thing as like a Ray Studios marker,
Yeah,
or you could pay a little bit more upfront for the Ray Studios marker, knowing that they've done all of the testing. They've taken all of that burden off of you and made it a little easier, a little bit more turnkey. So in much the same way as like anybody could make their own, in theory, anybody could make their own MAFX or Marvel Legends head
yeah,
sculpt, but like, you know, you could just pay someone else and they've already done all the work for you. So
yeah. I know, and it's crazy too. Now with the what were you just talking about right before the Oh, I totally forgot because I was going to ask you something.
don't worry about it. I'll be here all night.
No, no, because I was talking about the customizing. Okay, the
Oh yeah.
Wolverine, blah blah blah. No, there's some times where I will search. Actually, I did that for some of the Batman action figures I got. I went and would get the like custom capes
Oh yeah.
because
Because
the
the
cape.
capes that they come with are terrible.
Yeah, and so that's pretty neat. And yeah, I guess with Gunpla, then at the end of the day, really is you're just customizing. But oh yeah, I was gonna talk about Ray Studio real quick
Oh
because
yeah.
like I almost feel like you don't realize, okay, so it's like when you buy something Bandai or whatever, you get it and you're like, oh, that's the price. But with Ray Studio, I feel like when you get the thing, it feels like it's more. Because when I ordered those markers, those
Yeah.
metallic markers, there were so many different shades, and I'm like, I didn't pay a lot for this compared to if I was to go buy some Gundam markers, and it would be less markers, and so maybe that's what it is. The Ray Studios quality, also there's a little more value in it, and so it really makes sense. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
yeah, I can't wait to use them more. On on this, because in a little bit we're going to talk about a little more customizing stuff on the GQuuuuuX. I didn't really see a striking need for chrome metallics or anything. Nothing stood out in the anime like that. There's not traditional thrusters on this, so I felt it was fine on this. Now, however, um, I need to finish. This is the big conundrum right here. In my mind, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to start building. I want to build the master grade EX Strike Freedom now that I'm into all that. I think that's what it's called. And it's the wait, Master Grade Extreme. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, that's the one with
Um,
the LEDs, right?
does it have LEDs too? That's cool.
The
Maybe.
EX, the MGEX does.
I just know they're big and detailed. Anyway, I bought the Proud Defender it's a third party to
Sweet.
go for it. To
Yeah.
go with it. But then I'm like, I want to start it, and I'm like, Adam, you have this Mecha Godzilla that you just started. You already painted it, and you've already built it. It's like you just need to finish it. And okay, have you come across a point recently where there's two things you want to do really bad, and how do you pick one? And is it like, hey, I already started this, I might as well finish it? Or have you
Oh,
just completely been like, no, I'm just gonna work on something else?
no, no, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I only rushed to do the Gundam EX and the GM because of the Patreon themed build. Obviously, I couldn't con my
Okay,
way
that
into
was a good reason.
calling the V8 a legacy build because even though it's part of my legacy, right? Because Gundam
Right.
Wing.
Yeah.
Um, but this is something that I've been working on for probably, you know, at least a few months. I think since like July of last year, and I think I've made a lot of really great advances towards. Honestly, I'm glad that you brought up the idea of customizing Gunpla because one of the things that I thought was hilarious is I was looking at the P Bandai high grade versions of this and the V8 for inspiration to see like what kind of colors and how I should do the part separation, things like that. I didn't realize that the head sculpt on the P Bandai high grade is part swapping. Like, I thought it was like this, the way that I designed mine, where you can take the faceplate off and the mask is underneath. But no, you take the entire top, like front of the head off and swap that out. So I'm like, this is better than the high grade because A, you've got a little magnet in it. So I'm looking out for
Oh,
you
yeah,
there.
there you go. Yeah.
So the magnet like, the faceplate magnetizes on right underneath the LED that we have installed there, so and we've got the exposed wires for now, but that's just because we haven't installed the microcontroller and all that stuff, but
And
this
so you'll kinda work on it, move on, work on it, move on. Yeah, because like, I wanna finish the Mechagodzilla, but in my mind, when I'm thinking about it, I'm just thinking just a bunch of chrome pieces I'm putting together, which it's not as
Yeah,
colorful and exciting as thinking of, you know what, the Proud Defender and the Master Grade EX Strike, like, that's all gold and it's an action figure, giant
that's one
so
thing that I wish that there were different tones of metallic silver paint markers that you could get, like, that way you could add some variety to the
that
Mechagodzilla, because like you said,
so that's what I got from, Ray
from Ray.
Studio.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're not just, like, different color metallics, like, you have different shades of silver?
Yeah, some of it are different types of
Nice.
silver and bronze. That's what I'm saying, it's like a whole lot. Silvers,
That's
bronzes, golds, it's like all in that area, and it was a whole lot, and yeah, you brought up exactly what my plan is. I got those because
hell
I
yeah.
know as I'm gonna be working on this Mechagodzilla, there's opportunity where I can do touch-ups like that because, yeah, like I was saying, it's all one color, and I'm kinda like, that's not as exciting right now, even though
That's how I feel about this guy, is, like, he's
yeah,
solid blue, and so
yeah.
I've got my Gundam Real Touch blue marker that we're gonna use to, like, tint a couple of the parts 'cause
Oh,
I
cool.
might have mentioned that these Real Touch markers, they're not, like, opaque, they're not like paint markers, so I'm hoping that those will just kind of add some tonal variety in the blue.
Wait, what are they like? The Real Touch? It's more of like a watercolor?
Yeah, it's like it's
That's
almost like an alcohol marker, kinda like a Copic where, it just kind of shades apart, so it's, like, really good for white and, like, off-white kits because then you can add color, but you're not going to paint over, like, a dark colored kit with one of these, and they're good for weathering too. Weathering is obviously, you can kind of, like,
oh, yeah,
go
for
in and
sure.
do that kinda thing. Dual tips, so you've got, like, the fat brush tip, and then you've got a
Ah,
fine point on the other side. That's always a nice
smart.
touch.
Oh, I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, because for Ray Studios, I ended up buying they sell them separately, the fine tip and the it still wasn't too pricey from what I know.
No, and again, those are like acrylic, they're like alcohol-based acrylics, right? So it's like they're actual, like, paint markers, so they lay on to, like, anything.
I don't remember, okay, I'm not gonna spend my time looking, but they should be right there. Yeah, it's awesome. I had this unit thingy with drawers to the side, and as I rearranged the office, I was like, I don't know where to put this. I might just give it away, and it fits under my desk, and I can still use my desk, and
There you
now I
go.
have all my Gunpla supplies there. It's fantastic. Um, okay, since we're talking about the customizing, we're gonna get to that first before the GQuuuuuuX news because I found something awesome on Twitter. Let me change to that. And so it's this. It's the idea, and as we go down, I think the tweet, yeah, the guy's kind of showing. Are you able to see it? Am I sharing with you?
Yeah, I
Okay,
see.
great. So it's really cool because there's a lot of the coolest stuff, especially from the GPO. That Stardust memory seemed to really, although 0080 did it too with the
The
antenna stuff.
Easy 8 has 2
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It has and I
dual
loved
antennas.
how that's been a thing in Gundam. I feel like that adds a look to it, but they fall off. They pop off. If you have robot spirits, sometimes they even come with an extra one just in case. Um, this idea is good for many reasons. So he just got a spring. He cut a little section to put it in there. Um, Now, the only thing I'm wondering is, would you then want to paint it? Is it realistic to paint a material like that?
I'm glad that you brought this up because this is one of those things that, like, so Nickel Models and I talked about this last week, where we had one of the ODO winners painted polycaps, which is
Oh,
like,
I
that's a
remember you guys
part
were
that you
talking
don't
about that.
typically paint because obviously it's going to see a lot of friction. The likelihood of it chipping is too high. But when I look at this, I don't think, like, I'm not personally inclined to paint it right away because it kind of looks realistic. Like when you look at antenna, they typically are not one solid color. So
Yeah,
having like,
there
I
is
mean,
something to it that adds that credibility, that verisimilitude.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at this Gundam head makes me want to buy one of those Gundam heads to paint and top coat and everything. Like, get decals, on it like that. That's, something out of the ordinary, being a larger size of something I'm usually building on a small scale.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, that was one of the things that I was thinking about when we were just talking about resin parts is I recently watched a video where someone was they documented start to finish the unboxing and painting of a resin kit high new Gundam head. And there were a lot of things that I liked about it. Obviously, I like the work that they did. I think it was actually EA Gunpla now that I think about it. But obviously the work they did was fantastic, but when I look at the product and the resin kit that they got, it's like they leave the sprues on some of these parts, and so you end up having to like trim and sand them a lot. Like it
Oh,
doesn't come out of the box like ready to go.
yeah.
Which it's like I don't expect it to come on a runner or anything like that, but I do expect it to come like at least ready to go. And then as he's assembling it, because it's resin, they don't wanna make the parts too tightly fit together to where they might snap, which, like I mentioned, is an issue with 3D printed resin, and so they're kind of like loose fitting parts, and you end up having to, like, model glue them together, and it's more like traditional modeling, like, if you're into old
Uh,
school, like, military airplanes and tanks and that sort of stuff, which is cool if that's what you're into, but if you're, like, graduating from Gunpla and you wanna do something like that, I don't know. So that's where, yeah, I went ahead and picked up some rubber-like 3D printing resin, and I'm going to be running some experiments on that this weekend. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy what comes out of it.
okay, so rubber-like, so I'm assuming it's rubber-like.
Yeah, yeah, it is what it sounds like, and so hopefully the trade-off obviously is that it's gonna be less detailed, but for something like this, where if you were gonna 3D print a
Yeah.
Gundam head and you wanted the antenna to be something flexible that isn't gonna snap on you, then you print it in the rubber-like resin so that I mean, it's a cylinder, like, you don't need to it doesn't
That's very
need to be, like,
interesting
super detailed.
because, for instance, I have this my Shirari Ultronim's coming with that, the character from King of Fighters.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they did this, but the whole top half of the body is just a rubber piece.
Mm.
I don't know why they did that. Did they think people are gonna be pressing on the chest a lot? I don't know,
The world may never know.
but why I find that interesting is, what was the other thing? Yeah, there was a new Godzilla action figure from Playmates that came out,
Mm.
and it's rubber. Like it still has the joints, articulated joints and everything, but you could even like rubber move the hands. So that's very interesting. I wonder if that seems to be something that makes a lot. Okay, the Char Zaku 2.
Oh yeah, the skirt.
Yeah, that's another. Okay, so that is something I feel like can be integrated a lot more.
Or energy pipes on Zaku's.
Yes.
I mean, that
Yeah.
kills me, and honestly, I'm almost done getting the video ready for that, but I do have a way of softening the pipes on high grade Zaku's so that they
Oh.
are flexible and aren't gonna, get in the way of your posing, so
And so that's something to think about. Like if they were to then start using that same material for the skirt on the Zaku 2 as
Mhm.
material for antennas, material for I even think beam saber blades.
I think they also did it for, Lunamaria Hawk's torso on
Yeah,
the
that's right. I remember reading that in the description. I've been eyeing that, but I'm like, do I really need another waifu in my house? I have a lot.
I'll pick one up when they finally do one that I like Nika. Like, does anybody care about Nika from Witch from Mercury? We
I
what we
know it.
what we all want is we all want Cecilia, and preferably
Oh,
with rubberized legs, right?
okay. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, they're coming out with well, see, that's what's cool is they have those, and I have a lot of them. The 1/18th scale
Yeah,
Gundam
the
action figures they do
Gundam
have for Alpha. They
military.
have Sayla.
Yeah, is it GMG or
Yeah, GMG.
GGG?
Yeah,
Okay, GMG.
which I learned from Justin that that's just owned by Bandai straight up. And they just have different company names for things. But
Yeah.
so that's kind of where I would like to see them go. I do. So here's the thing. So this is actually pretty interesting. Seed Freedom last year, came out with the model kits. They came out with SH Figure Arts action figures, but then also the figurized models of other characters. So you're able to get a complete set of characters if you bought the action figures and the model kits. And it's just usually they do girls as model kits. And I don't know if that's because maybe there's something about doll alike or dressing up, that and then for the guy toy, that's more of like the action figure,
Yeah.
eh,
Which, I mean, it's so funny. You think about, like, just the marketing behind that, and, did you ever do you remember the franchise Max Steel?
that sounds very familiar.
So
Very
it
familiar.
that was like it was like a sci-fi action version of like a GI Joe, and so my
Yeah.
my little brother was huge into Max Steel when it came out, and it was like 3D animated, so it was like kind of like
Oh, that's
reboot
cool.
that whole era
Yeah.
of like 3D animated shows. 1/12 scale dolls, essentially. I mean, it was
Wow,
essentially
yeah.
a Barbie doll, but it was
Sure.
like a jacked dude that came with guns and, um,
Yeah, and I think, yeah, what you're getting at is like it's funny how they choose what's a model kit and what's an action figure. And it's
yeah.
weird how mostly the girls or a lot of the girls will get statues. And the guys do too, but it's usually just Char. You don't see like a statue of Ryu.
I mean, that Camille one is pretty sweet where he's like got the gun and it comes with the
Oh,
alternate head.
yeah.
I wanted one of those so bad.
Yeah. They have some cool stuff there. I'm just, I'm big on action figures and I would like to get more of these characters. That's why I want to get that Luna Mario Hawk. And that's the other thing. The um uh, so there's going to be a Shin and there is an Atherin. It might not be out yet in Shin action figure, right? But these action figures are $90, these
Whoa.
SH figure arts. In the figurize Luna Maria
It's like
is
40, isn't it?
yeah, it's 40.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, but it would be cool to have that as a collection, because they're in their pilot suits and all that. But
Yeah, and that's kind of what bums me out about it is that I wish that they came out in collections because they came out with like a figurized Puru 2,
oh
which
yeah,
is
that's right.
like why Puru 2 before you've done any of the original Gundam characters, any of the original
Right,
Zeta characters, you go straight to Double Zeta and you go straight to Puru 2, not even Puru. Like,
right. So what's interesting about that is that further going down that idea that like for female characters, for some reason, model kits are the or what that's cool because I would if they had a Haman model kit from Double Zeta,
oh
that
yeah.
would be That would be amazing.
So would you prefer Haman in like the black cloak or like from like in her full Neo Zeon regalia?
I what they should do is the full Neo Zeon regalia for what you build, and then more of like a swappable some thing, maybe just a one piece of her cloak thing. Yeah,
That'd be
because I
cool.
would like her in her like military uniform, as an action figure. Uh, yeah, that's cool. I mean, hey, it's just interesting to see. Like you said, hey, they don't even have any original Gundam characters out, but it's weird how they do of the 1/18th scale. It's so weird what they choose to do and not do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it. I
Okay, so let's we're gonna move on to some GQuuuuuX news. And actually, it's funny. I was looking for so I'm totally changing the subject. Sorry, everyone. The Rising Freedom, is unfortunately, and I hate to tell you, I feel like I'm confessing to you when I talk about this stuff. It's just another seed suit that is now catching my eye. Which is weird because the Rising Freedom was just designed as the opening suit for the new show, and
Yeah.
then for the new movie, and then he went, to the Strike Freedom Mark II. I don't know, the Spec 2, and then the Mighty. Anyway, this was really cool. I was looking at the high grade because sometimes like, God, these are cool, but this was, at the end of the day, it's like $25. You build it. It's not a real grade. It's not a master grade. I saw some badass decals online for the Rising Freedom that have some sort of
really
metallic part to it. So I think I'm
nice.
going to do a video of like before and after. Like here is because when I look at the Rising Freedom high grade, I'm like, this looks so much like a toy. How can I make it look like one of the finished like real grades, or even the newer high grades that are super detailed, like the Gundam EX. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna get those stickers on, which is another cool thing to do. Like, if you're just thinking of what else could you do for your Gunpla, look for some like third party stickers. There's sometimes it's pretty neat what they have out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I'm totally gonna do that top coat. The other neat thing I want to bring up.
I just can't believe you're becoming such a seed freak.
I know, and
I
hey, I'm about to bring something wing up in a second. Okay, so hold on to your butts. So it's interesting how they made the Rising Freedom transform into a flight unit, where it's almost like that was almost like a where maybe Bandai started realizing, okay, that works and that's cool because they did that with the metal. Is it the Metal Robot Spirits Death Scythe where they added a flight mode?
Yeah, which was interesting. It's like they're trying to make the Death Scythe feel a little bit more like the Wing Gundam.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I love a mobile suit that can transform into a flight mode, but it seems very practical even on the Gunpla level. You know what I mean?
You mean you
Y
don't
no,
like the Epion and it's like feet folded over its back like it's
I don't mind that. I was actually throwing shade at the Zeta and the Wave
Oh,
Rider.
you son of a
I know, I know, I know. As much as I love it, that transforming because, I have, like, the Delta Kai,
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
those there's other things where it's, like, a lot easier to transform, and that's the thing. Yeah, I don't have it here. The Rising Freedom, how the back, the
Just like a
thing just
two-part
turns
fold.
over.
It's like yeah.
Yeah. And then even I'm gonna be doing a video on this, but the Gundam Double X and the G Falcon, how and I'll show it in the video how easily it just connects. And you know, that stuff. So what I need to do is like a top 5 flight modes since I'm just like
Mm.
so into these flight modes now.
And what you need to do is, like, take the same energy that you've put into some of these tracks that you've written in, FL Studio for your Gunpla and your,
Oh
figure
yeah.
reviews and make something that kinda sounds like Danger Zone so that you've got that Top Gun
Oh,
vibe going.
yes. Actually, that's a great idea to theme it like that.
You're
Yeah, that's
welcome.
a good idea. Okay,
Even
well,
though
so
you
far
said even though you're slandering the Zeta,
I
I'm
know,
still gonna
I
support
know,
you.
I know. It's a love-hate relationship, you
It
know?
is.
What can I say? Um,
Uh,
but yeah, I will say I do like the Rising Freedom's flight form, and I do like the Wing Zero's flight form, even though I think it's a ridiculous mobile suit. I don't know what it is. It's those binders, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, it's kinda cool the way that, like, the Wing Zero, not the Endless Waltz version, but the
Right.
the TV series version, like the wing binders like open up, and
Yeah.
there's
It
a
has like 2 different forms to it where it almost looks like kinda strictly like maybe it's a flight unit, and then it opens up, and then you can kinda manipulate that even more. It's neat
exactly,
stuff.
yeah, I dig it a lot.
Okay, enough of that side, thingy. Yeah, let's look at, some news. So, Mobile Suit Gundam's newest anime movie debuts in the US with impressive Rotten Tomatoes score, which I think it was the same thing with Freedom and Cuckoo's Dolan's Island anyway. Like, these niche things get the high scores because that's who's watching it.
Pretty
Which
much.
is at 89. Char's counterattack being at 83, I think makes sense. I wonder if that was like probably the most watched Gundam for the longest time for people growing up. I think it's one of the first ones that was brought over.
I mean, I'm
Is
trying to
that true?
remember, like, back when it I mean, it was definitely at least
Because I've heard people tell me in the 80s, late 80s, them having a VHS of Char's counterattack.
yeah.
So that makes me think, or is that just someone bringing it over with fan dubs or fan subs and not yeah, how often
You
was
know what?
someone
This
watching a VHS tape that wasn't official?
That's a question for Vampy.
Oh, that's right, she was talking about that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
because she
Good
obviously had the
memory.
earliest hit on anything Gundam because, coming from a
Yeah.
family that owned a video store, it was like she was getting those VHS tapes. The first I heard about Char's counterattack was when I was in high school. So,
Yeah, and this was after you had already known about Wing?
yeah, yeah, I'd watched through Wing
Yeah.
and Zeta, and so,
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I remember the story you told me where the kids were talking about the other mobile suits, or
yeah.
was it from a video game or something? And you were like, "This isn't, uh"
Well, they were asking me what my favorite mobile suit was, and I was like, "Oh,
oh, okay.
yeah, go flight type," and they were like, "Oh, you need to watch Char's counterattack because."
Okay, that's what it was. I love that. I love that when kids I remember, yeah, when I was in 5th grade and I was playing on the playground, and this kid comes up to me, he's like, "Are you playing Power Rangers?" And I'm like, "No," but on the inside, 2 kids wanted to play Power Rangers with each other, but we were in the 5th grade and we were kinda getting over that. Isn't that sad?
If only we were more honest with each other.
I know, new types. That's the whole point. Okay.
Exactly.
Um, okay, moving on. So yeah, the Rotten Tomato score. Um, there was something in here.
So you
Um,
already mentioned that it's coming to streaming services, right?
yeah, actually, yeah. So scheduled to air on April 8th, 2025 in Japan, but wow, same day. Yeah, because this article says they don't know yet, but um, was this the article? Yeah, here we go. Multi-language sub and dub.
Wow.
Holy,
And
I'm
people hate
glad.
AI. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to find out. I can't wait for someone to claim there's something that's AI, and then
Well,
they try to
honestly,
cancel.
I would legit not be surprised if the initial translation was done machine translated and they just have people go back and localize it after the fact because
Exactly. Yeah,
you could
it saves a step.
because you have to remember that at the end of the day, these are companies, and every CEO thinks the same. Is they're always thinking, who's the lowest guy on the totem pole that I can fire?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how it's gonna
Like
go.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but like,
No, but I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if I always look at this other fact, there are so many things we are doing right now that is actually technically driven by an algorithm
mhm.
that is making lives easier. Color correction in film, editing in Adobe Premiere. Why not do it manually by hand? For the longest time, digital cameras, it did not look anywhere near as good as film. And you can even still argue a lot when you watch a movie in digital, it's just not as good as something in film, whether that's just what we remember, but there is kind of a warmth uh,
I
to
mean,
film.
shoot, like I have a DSLR, and because I don't know how to use it properly, like I never learned proper photography, like I know all the little tricks and stuff, like I can hack my way towards a decent photo, but like my phone is always going to beat what I can do
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
through software.
Yeah, exactly. It's Yeah, it's so interesting now. Like, just thinking of all the things that have made life so much easier. In especially in the face of AI,
Yeah.
like to complain about it while doing so on a phone. Because not only are you just feeding into that system, but you've accepted practices that allowed for the development of AI. It's like one of those things where it's just that's just part of the human course, and we'll correct. Um,
I'm sure.
yeah, but
But no,
wow,
this is
how
actually
we
huge
go?
news. Sorry.
I was about to say, how we go on these tangents? Like I'm good at that, but no, just going back to the dub thing. I'm just excited that there's actually a dub, but I'm gonna do the thing where I watch the dub and then I watch the sub. I did
Mhm.
that with Witch from Mercury as well. You know what? And I did that recently with the Godzilla Millennium movies, and they seem way less cheesier when you're reading subtitles.
They do.
E
They do.
Even though you can't see what's going on.
Dude, I hate that so many people will say like, "Oh, i if you guys actually could speak Japanese, you would see that your anime it sounds just as ridiculous as it does dubbed when it's like in its native tongue." Like nobody actually talks like that. And it's like I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily buy that because to your
Nah,
point, like I don't think that I've ever felt the same way. Like I think like English dub anime actors do tend to take things over the top a little bit. But maybe that's just me.
no, so in one of the Godzilla Millennium movies, a lot of times they'll have these legendary actors that are like old school Japanese actors, very well regarded. And when I read that, I was like, man, I did not get that sense from when I watched it. So then I watched it with the subtitles. One of the worst Godzilla Millennium movies with the subtitles, it's like you
It's
can
like
stomach
cinema.
yeah, you can stomach those conversations when it's like the human dialogue of what they need to do.
Yeah.
And because it's these older and it's interesting that they have older actors a lot in these they're not the main characters, but they're kind of side supporting characters and they're usually respected actors. And I think that happens a lot in American movies. Like when there's a big Hollywood production, they'll have like a side
A legacy
actor that's
character.
older,
Yeah.
well known. Yeah.
Or
Um,
yeah, yeah, you know what I meant.
yeah.
Well, slight tangent, but you saw that YouTube is now you have to opt out of it. But your videos are now going to be auto dubbed into other languages.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kept it on there, and someone even, reached out to me saying that they're able to watch it in French.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, and then he was like, "Where are you from?" Blah, blah. So that was cool, that it auto-dubbed, and I was able to make a connection with someone that way, you know?
It's very cool.
Yeah,
Honestly,
but
I think that's progress right there.
it is, yeah. Um, okay, so, anyway, I keep repeating it, but it is just amazing that April 8th, we're gonna be able to watch
Brand
the
new
G
Gundam series, yeah.
yeah, brand new Gundam series. Like my April is set for content. Bam. Um okay. Geeks of Color. Don't know if I've heard of this website or not, but this is just a dude, Timothy Lee, that doesn't know Gundam. He watched this for the first time. And I think in it he was saying, yeah, like while Anno's fingerprints are found, blah blah blah. No, that's because he's familiar with Evangelion, which is kind of a point I think with a lot of people that are maybe watching GQuuuuuX is how much is it for the Evangelion fans? I
Mhm.
bet there's a lot of that. Okay,
I would be interested in knowing how many Evangelion fans have never watched Gundam.
I for
I
some
mean, this
reason
is one, but, like,
I I feel like for some reason, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like more people in the US have watched Evangelion than Gundam.
I get that impression too,
Okay.
and I think it's largely because Evangelion was translated and distributed in the US
Yeah. Just
earlier and, like, wider than Gundam was
right.
for some reason, for God knows why, I don't know.
Yeah, being well, and I think it was just in again, I think I told you about this video was like how anime the evolution of anime in the US and it was the early 90s, it finally got to a point to where company. So by the mid 90s, when Evangelion came out, it was prime for being brought over.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really do think, because growing up and all through my pop culture, being into video games, everything, always hear about Evangelion. Rarely was it about Gundam, even for
Yeah.
my anime friends. Um,
Dude, people made fun of me and they like because I was always wearing my Gundam t-shirts and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, is that Escaflowne?" And I'm like,
now
"Are you out of your
that's a
mind?"
crazy reference, because I would have never
Yeah,
got that.
absolutely not. Get out of here.
So there was a certain paragraph I found where he was saying, he had never seen it before, so it seemed like, well, ultimately, as much as I adore GQuuuuuuX, I also recognize that this is less of an actual movie and more of a compilation that stitches together the first 3-ish episodes of the anime into a film. So that's something I guess I forgot, that I guess what is in the theaters is I guess 3 episodes that have been condensed, which would be interesting. I mean, that if does that mean more one-year war stuff? I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Okay. Da da da. Nevertheless, the way I see it is that if a film like this is just going to be a glorified teaser, um, it should be pure unadulterated fun. Why can't I say that? Luckily, I got exactly that with Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuX beginning. I'm excited to see how it plays out, but I can't wait to check out the rest of the Gundam franchise, starting with the original 0079. With any luck, I might become as big of a Gundam fan as I am an Evangelion one. So that right there, I
Yeah.
think, is best case scenario for what this is going to do.
The
It's
kids are
time.
all right.
Yeah. No, because really think about the quadrants this is hitting, right? It's getting which we were just talking about, which I almost feel like Evangelion is bigger in the US, and it's finally maybe closing that gap that's been there for so long, just for those holdouts of Evangelion that maybe never watched Gundam.
I hope so. I hope that that is the direction that it goes. This fan obviously has given me some hope in that regard. It goes back to the thing that I always bring up in these instances where when you change the original thing enough to appeal to a new fan base, is it still the original thing anymore? And why would they then want to go back and consume the original product, right? So like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring up Sonic. I'm gonna
Oh,
bring
yeah.
up Skinny Robotnik because, like I said, if you are a kid that watches the Sonic movies and you're like, "Hey, this little blue hedgehog guy's awesome." Wait, you mean there's like 30 video games that came out before the movie? Well, I definitely want to
That's
go play all
crazy.
of them. Where's Tom Wachowski? And like, who's this fat guy that's going after me? That's not Eggman. What are you
Yeah.
like? So it's always that's always my fear whenever there's any kind of significant change in order to appeal to a new audience is the change being made in a superficial fashion, or is it being made to the substance of the product?
Interesting you say that, because it was the Gundam Unicorn that got me to pick up the model kit
It's
for the
true.
first time. And then it's one of those things where, right, I do appreciate the Unicorn. Like, I really like it. I think it's really cool. But when I was getting into Gundam, I was like, oh, the Unicorn is when they get into the Gundam slop territory, where it's just like all out. We're just going to do everything insane. But as I then followed all the story, I realized, okay, they do have really good storytelling to make sense. But I do think most of it is the surface level to really grab your attention.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and it's that balance of, yeah, the old stuff, the new stuff, which
It's the
this
same conversation that we were having last night with like the people that were saying that Fukui's interpretation of new types is like, oh, they're space ghosts who can turn back time. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know, yeah. And it's, yeah, it's neat, those interpretations, and, yeah, especially, speaking of new types, I guess that would be the more interesting thread that they go through for this series, because it's kind of heavy on the new type aspect, where it might explore things that wouldn't be explored in UC, but technically it would still be the same, unless there's some new type phenomenon that happens to be different in the universe. Um, And it's funny because I was thinking about even our discussion yesterday. So if you guys missed that near the end, we were talking a lot about the storytelling for GQuuuuuX and how it's like there's for me, and maybe it's a conspiratorial nature of myself that I feel like there is more to it because I'm looking at multiple data points that might be unrelated. I love, yeah, because remember we were talking about this last night where I'm like, not only is Amuro missing, but wait, Denim or Gene?
Is it Denim?
But there is a Gene.
There's a Gene too. So Gene is the one that initiates the attack in the original.
Yeah, but it just made me realize Denim jeans. I just I don't, I'm sorry. Anyway, and then yeah, the
Toma
mobile,
knows nothing if not a troll.
but the repair that needed to get done
Yeah.
on the mobile suit, and Shar having to say, "Oh, I don't know, I just got intuition." So for me, I'm seeing 3 data points, but it could be, yeah, again, the conspiratorial aspect
Well,
of it.
and so it's worth noting that this story can it just by the nature of it having a 45-year-old franchise behind it, it can be a little bit more forward leaning on some of these things. Like it's like episode 30 before we even get a mention of the new types in the original series, right? Like new types are not a thing until towards the end. Whereas here it's front loaded, right? Like we're already
Yeah.
in the first 5 minutes we're talking about, ooh, my intuition is telling me that I need to go down there, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm really curious about all that. Because it's like it's almost like it doesn't matter. Or am I looking for something to matter if they're like, yes. So what happened is the new types, I don't know, there's different universes of new types, or the time travel, might even play. What if it's time travel and it ties in? Oh my god. Well, I just got a super chat. Thank you, Classic Quarter Gameplays. The movie's going to be interesting. Past and future Gundams enter dimensions and lost colonies as well. I wonder how it's going to be with 3 different parts to the movie. I can't wait. Yeah, and so yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, that's so awesome.
yeah,
Classic Quarter Gameplays, long time Gundam Explained channel watcher, Gundam enjoyer, and always commenting. I always appreciate it. Probably comments on most of my videos, if not all. So I appreciate that. But
good people.
yeah, again, I can't wait. The fact that we got this news right before going on that the show is going to be on Amazon.
That's awesome. So do you think at some point like Temray is going to come back and be like, Amuro, we have to go back in time? And he's like, oh, what is it, my kids? And it's like, kids, you're not going to have kids, Amuro. Are you crazy?
So what you're bringing up, though, is I think what inside my mind is wanting to have resolved, that the meaning or the resolution or whatever of the show is going to be some sort of explanation of how and why, like how the universe changed and why it did. What is the message it's giving that the original timeline didn't? But then it might be the same issue I had with Deadpool and Wolverine, where I went in thinking it was going to be deeper than it is on
I
the
was going to
surface.
say, I think you're going to be disappointed. I think that this piece is self-aware enough to say, like, we're going to tease you into thinking that there is some deeper meaning going on here, but the cynical truth is that, like, it
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
know. I don't know, but you're right. It's one of those things. It's only because of who's creating it. You know what I mean? And because there is that personal history.
Mhm.
So anyway, no, that's about it.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, good stuff. I am just so excited that GQuuuuuX is going to be on TV.
It's
And
huge.
what I'm going to try to do, and I did this with Requiem for Vengeance, is do the watch along.
I'll be there.
Cool. And I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I'm going to, if they drop all the episodes at once, I don't know if I want to.
I don't like to binge shows
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I. But anyway, yeah, we'll discuss that in the background here. But we're going to head out. Thanks all for watching. Yeah, we will talk later. See you all.
Cheers.